Hello, fellow diamond painting addicts, and welcome back to Diamond Painting Anonymous. I'm Daphne, and I'm here today to share with you my top 5 diamond painting tips. These are tips and or tricks that I've kind of learned as I've been diamond painting. These are things that I use on a regular basis, things that I do to make my diamond painting life easier and better. As always, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Some of these may work for you, and if they do, awesome, because they work for me and I love them. If they don't work for you, don't feel bad. Just ignore me and move on. It's all right. We all work differently, and things that work great for me may not work great for you. However, I wanted to at least take the time to share with you these things that I do all the time and hopefully make your diamond painting lives and or crafting lives a little bit easier. So number 5 to start off with is probably going to seem a little bit weird, but one of my absolute favorite things and one of my best tricks is my rolling pin. This is a marble rolling pin that someone bought me once upon a time for baking, because I used to do a lot of baking. However, it has since been co-opted for my diamond paintings. It is nice and heavy, so when I roll over my diamond painting drills, it pushes them down. So what I have discovered in my years of diamond painting is even with good quality kits, sometimes the drills don't adhere to the canvas as tightly as you want them to. Especially when you're working on a square, sometimes fitting them in between each other can be a challenge. So when I finish a painting, I go over all of my paintings, and sometimes even when I finish a section, if I feel like a section has been particularly difficult, I will roll over it with my rolling pin. And all I do is just take my rolling pin and just roll it across my drills. Now, I have seen some people try to scare other people and say this is going to flatten out your drills. It won't. These drills are resin, but they are quite hard, and I'm not pressing super hard. I just want everything to kind of seat into place. And what I find happens is if I have some drills that haven't adhered completely to the canvas, or especially with squares, if I've got some that haven't quite seated in between other drills like they should, when I roll over them, I get these satisfying little clicking sounds as the drills pop into place. So I've already rolled over this canvas once, so there probably isn't going to be much clicking with this one, but like I said, this is something I do with every kit. Now, I personally don't seal my kits generally unless there's a really good reason to. If they're going to go in a frame, I don't see any reason to seal them because the frame is going to kind of hold everything in place. If they're going to go in a portfolio, then again, the portfolio sleeve is going to hold everything in place. I don't really feel the need to seal it. Again, you do you. If you like sealing all your diamond paintings, go for it. I just don't. I find it's a step that's not really necessary for me, so I don't spend a lot of time sealing things. But because I don't seal things, I do want to make sure that I have all my drills adhered well to the canvas, and so I will just go over everything with a rolling pin. So there's tip number 5. Tip number 4 for me is release papers. We all know that most diamond paintings come with a big plastic cover sheet to keep the glue nice and crisp for you, and you just peel off the sections as you work. When I'm working on a big kit, it sometimes is overwhelming to me to see the whole kit laid out if I leave the plastic cover sheet on and use the washi tape method to section. So early on in my diamond painting career, I discovered cover sheets or release papers. People call them different things. And I originally just bought plain white ones. You can find them on Amazon in big bulk packages. I think I bought a package of like 200 or something, and they are just non-stick on both sides. So you can put them down on either direction and cover up, and basically then you have just white sheets, usually 4x6, covering your diamond painting. And then for me, I like it because it limits what I can see and also helps me limit what I'm working on. So if I put a section on like this, then I sit down to diamond paint, I peel off one section, I'm going to diamond paint until I finish that section. And when I'm finished with that section, I can decide if I'm done diamond painting for the day, if I have time to do something else, if I want to start another section or move on to some other project or whatever. So it's a way for me to kind of visually constrain what I'm working on and also kind of time constrain how long I work. I do marathon sessions. Sometimes I may do 6 or 8 sessions at a time, but that means when I get done with that section, I can take a break or whatever I need to do before I come back and do anything else. So it makes it easy to section kits down into smaller chunks which is good for me. And now instead of plain boring white, you can get them in all kinds of designer things. Now I make my own sometimes. These two designs are actually something that I bought from Amazon, and I get lots of questions about this book. This is just a book that I got from a budget diamond painting company. I don't even remember what the name of it is, but it's just like a little 6-ring binder here. These are 4x6 sheets, so it's a little like 5x7 maybe. I think it's originally meant to be like a photo album, but I just co-opted these sheets to use them for my release papers. And I have some, like I said, that I just bought on Amazon that you can get with various designs. And these have lines on them, so like if you wanted to section it down even further, you could cut these apart and make your sections even smaller. If you work on smaller diamond paintings or you want a smaller section, you can do that however you want. I've also made my own diamond painting release papers. So I have a cutting machine and I make stickers. The back side of the sticker paper is non-stick, so the sticker paper doesn't stick to it obviously, but then the back side of that I'm able to print on. So I can run it through my printer and print out any kind of design that I want. Did some here with my logo. I made these little bubbles. My daughter drew a whole bunch of them for me. These are all ones that I've purchased. My daughter made that one. Sometimes I just use the artwork. That's the image of the canvas that I'm working on. This is Jasper C. These two are again ones that my daughter made. I just print them off and then I cut them out to be the right size, and then I can use them as release papers because they are non-stick. So this side there's nothing on it and it's got the silicone on it, so when I put it down on the diamond painting glue it will peel right up. And you can buy these on Etsy, on Amazon, on a million different places. You can make your own if you have the resources to do that. I have a video I'll stick a link to up in the corner up there about how I made these. I actually want to make some more for my upcoming projects, but I just really love these. I think they add a fun element, especially when they have designs on them, so that you can mix and match, kind of like people do with the washi tape, mix and match and make it match your kit if that's a thing for you. I don't normally really concern myself with that, but sometimes it's fun. So like I said, there have been times like this one. These are release papers that I made that went with a particular kit, and these are pieces of that person's art that I just cut up. Here's the cat trio that I did. No, what was it called? Not the trio. It was Kindred Spirits, which was one that you guys picked for me to work on. And I made these release papers, again, images by the same artist. So these my daughter made. So yeah, just a lot of fun kind of diamond painting release papers that make it a little bit more enjoyable and keep me on track when I'm diamond painting. Tip number 3 is glue dots. I get lots of questions about what are glue dots. They are literally just dots of glue. These are lines, these are dots. Sometimes they come on a roll, like this one. These are lines, but the glue dots come on the same kind of roll. So it's just a roll like this, and it will have the glue dots on one side. Or you can get them in a package like this where they're just on each little individual little sheet. You peel off the top layer, and then the glue dot is right there, and you stick it in your pen. Glue dots are something I discovered again kind of early on in my diamond painting career. I tend to press very hard when I place diamond painting drills, and I was using the pink wax that came with the kits. However, I did not like the pens. I don't like the pink pens. I did not like the way the wax went up inside the hollow portion of the pen. It looked like a shrimp mud vein to me, and it just was icky and I didn't like it. And because I tend to press pretty heavily, there was constantly wax residue on the drills, on the canvas, and it just got to be a nightmare. Not to mention that I felt like I was refilling the wax every third or fourth drill, and it just sucked a lot of the enjoyment out of it for me. So pretty early on, I did a wax test, and I did a video of all the different things I tried, and I'll stick a link to that up there as well, so you can go check it out. It's several years old, but I basically tried a whole bunch of different kinds of adhesive, the pink wax, some different kinds of putties, the glue dots, various other things, to see which ones worked the best for me. Hands down, the glue dots worked the best for me. The glue lines I've tried in my multi-placers, but they are a little bit finicky to work with in multi-placers, so I don't use those as often. But in my single placers, I always have glue dots. If they say permanent, don't worry about it. It's not permanent. They'll still come out of your tips. These are mini dots. I've also used micro dots. You can use either one. It depends on how deep the well of your pen tip is, how many you need to use. These are so inexpensive that I just put more in that I think I'm going to need, and then if I need to cut off excess, I do. But these have been a real game changer for me. They last an entire diamond painting. Like for instance, this particular diamond painting I did with one set of glue dots. I think I put 3 glue dots in my pen, but those 3 glue dots were what I used for the entire painting. So it lasts me a really long time. Not that the wax is expensive, but I just, with the glue dots, I don't have to change the glue dots as often as I was having to change the wax. Again, if you're happy with the pink wax and it works for you, knock yourself out. But for me, I needed something different. And I get a lot of questions about what is that popping sound when people hear me placing drills in my whip and chat. It's because I'm using the glue dots. So I get that bonus satisfying popping sound, and I don't have to replace the adhesive in my pen over and over and over again. So glue dots. So moving on to tip number 2, and a huge shout out to Jess because she's the one who shared this one with me. So I said previously, I don't use the washi tape sectioning method. I don't like the crinkling of the plastic of the cover sheet that comes with most diamond paintings. And I don't like being able to see it, so I've usually replaced it with cover papers, release papers anyway. But there were a few times where I was trying the washi tape sectioning method. And the way this works is you essentially put washi tape in a grid on top of the plastic release paper, and then you've divided your canvas into sections. So when you're ready to work on a section, you would just take a ceramic cutter and cut through the washi tape and the plastic so that you could then peel off the section where you wanted to work. For me, I am very heavy-handed, and I was constantly terrified to use this method because I felt like I was going to cut through not only the washi tape and the plastic, but cut all the way through to the canvas to the back, and then I was going to have a ruined canvas that I had spent a lot of money on and I hadn't even started diamond painting yet. Or even worse, something that I was halfway through completing and then I've ruined it because halfway through completing it, I've cut all the way through the canvas. So Jess told me about this seam ripper tip. And if you don't sew, this is a seam ripper. It has this little pointy edge here, this little knob here usually is covered up, and then your actual cutting blade is in this section right here. So it's meant to kind of dig underneath threads and then cut the threads down here when you're sewing. But this absolutely works for cutting this way. Let me move this a different direction just so it's a little easier for me to cut. So say I want to do this section right here. Instead of taking a pin with a cutter in it and slicing down and hoping that I'm pressing just hard enough to get through what I want to get through and not the canvas behind, instead you can use a seam ripper. And you just put the seam ripper underneath. So this longer section is underneath and your plastic is going to go in the little groove right there. And then you are just going to push and cut. And because you have that bottom piece, I'm not cutting very straight here, but because you have that bottom piece that is resting on the canvas, so you can see it there, the actual cutting part is right there. So it's not going to cut through your canvas, but it is going to cut through the piece that you want to cut through, with no danger of cutting through to your canvas below. Now, if you get crazy and dig at it like that, then yes, but to start it out and just go slow and cut the way that you want, I didn't cut that very straight, but you get the idea. So again, huge shout out to Jess. This saved my sanity so many times when I was trying this method. I don't use this washi tape method much anymore, but I know a lot of people like it, especially people who do a lot of photographs for social media and stuff. It makes for a very cool picture to kind of have it separated with washi tape so that you can see the entire image even though somebody's actively working on it, versus my way of doing it with the cover sheets where what you see is somebody's pretty cover sheets but you can't see the image underneath. So invest in a seam ripper. These are not expensive. This is one I just had hanging around in my sewing kit, but they're not expensive, and again, like I said, if you use this method, save my sanity so many times. And my number one trick, again, I will preface this with not everyone agrees with me, and that's okay, you don't have to, but this is my absolute go-to when I have drills that are staticky. So you can see here, these drills have static in them. See how they're sticking to the sides of the bottle when I rotate it? There's static in there. Same way with this one. If I turn it upside down, you can see the drills are sticking to the bottom here, sticking to the sides because there's static in there. What causes the static is not really clear to me, but dealing with it can often be a nightmare, especially when you are talking about kitting up drills and they are jumping everywhere. So when you pour them onto a tray, they jump everywhere, off the tray. If you're pouring them out of a bag into a container, they may jump everywhere. My absolute favorite go-to, and I have tried many, many things, is static guard spray. Not sponsored. I have tried all the things. Early on in my diamond painting journey, I was trying to find methods to deal with static. I tried using alcohol on them because I was told that would get rid of the static. It didn't really work for me. I've tried washing them in water. Did not work. I tried freezing them. Did not work. I tried the dryer sheet method. I will say the dryer sheet method is probably the most effective after the static spray for me, but I don't like the dryer sheet method. Typically, the method that people use is to cut up a dryer sheet into small pieces and just stick it in the containers with the drills that have static, and then just kind of leave it set. And over time, the dryer sheet will absorb the static and the drills will be fine. Maybe I'm just too impatient, but that method never really worked for me. Maybe I just didn't leave them to sit long enough because I tend to work on kits as I'm ready to work on them. I don't really kit them up and then let them set for 2 or 3 months before I go back to them. So I don't know if time was a factor, possibly, but I don't like dealing with dryer sheets. I don't use dryer sheets in my own home anyway. I don't like using them for laundry. I'm very sensitive to smells, so any scented dryer sheets give me an instant migraine. And just handling dryer sheets, because in addition to cutting them up into the squares, I've heard people who basically lay out a dryer sheet, pour the drills on it, kind of rub the drills together, and then pour them into the container. May work. I do not like the way that my hands feel. I feel like I have some sort of weird chemical gunk on my hands after handling dryer sheets, and I don't like that. So for me, the static spray has become my go-to. And all I do is get some staticky drills like these, get a cotton swab, and then I just spray the cotton swab with some static guard. And then I will open the container or the bag or whatever it is, and then I just swirl the cotton swab around in the container. I may have to apply it more than once, but typically I don't have to. You can see there's still some there at the bottom that are sticking, but after shaking them up to kind of get that distributed, now I've got no static in these drills. Same thing with these here. You can see they're kind of sticking. So again, I'm just going to take my cotton swab with some static guard sprayed on it, and I'm going to swirl it around just to kind of try and touch every drill. And again, I might have to swirl more than once, but that's okay. Put the lid back on and see, look, my static is pretty much gone. And I didn't have to touch anything with my hands. It is a spray, so I just sprayed on the cotton swab, put it down in there, and voila, I've got no more static. Again, if you've got some particularly stubborn static, you might have to shake the drills up a bit. You might have to do another short application or something, but typically one is enough. And then I'm good to go, and I don't have to worry about when I pour my drills out that things are going to be staticky on my tray and whatnot. So that's it. Those are kind of my top 5 go-to diamond painting tips and tricks for when I run into issues or just things that in general make your diamond painting life easier. So leave me a comment down below. What's your favorite tip or trick? Is it one that I mentioned here, or do you have something I didn't mention that's a go-to for you? I am always interested in how people work, so if you have a tip or a trick that you'd love to share, like the seam ripper or something like that, that would help your fellow diamond painters, again, please leave me a comment down below and let me know. We'd all love to share in that collective knowledge. That's it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end of the video. Before you leave, don't forget to do all the things. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can be informed of future uploads. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching.